I'm joined now by Chris Curtis, a pollster at Opinium, and also by Sonia Sodha, a columnist at The Observer. Thanks to you both for joining us. Let's start with Chris. Has there been any response to the speech?
Well, what we've done this afternoon is we've gone and spoken to just over 1,000 adults from across the UK. We've shown them the highlights of Keir Starmer's speech that the news are reporting on this evening, and we've asked them for their response to that. And what the polling shows actually is a fairly positive response to the speech. So when we compare that exercise with Keir Starmer's speech today with what the public now think if they see an exercise from Boris Johnson's speech or from Jeremy Corbyn's first conference speech, the response to Keir Starmer's speech is a lot more positive. People do think he came across like he cared, like he was in touch, and also like he was competent as well.
Fairly positive. I'll be honest, sounds quite lukewarm, Sonia Sodha.
I think Team Starmer will take that, actually. I think the fact that he's outperformed Boris Johnson, he's often thought of as a politician who really speaks to people, that people feel kind of resonates with them. I think Team Starmer will be quite happy with the fact that he's outperformed Boris Johnson. I had quite low expectations for this speech, actually. Keir Starmer, he sometimes isn't the most charismatic performer, but I was really pleasantly surprised by the speech. I thought it was a really good speech. I thought there was lots in there that really speaks to the country, and I felt like it was a speech that he was sort of making clear that his primary responsibility is to the country, not in keeping different factions of his party happy. And so there was really strong stuff on stuff that we know that voters care about, stuff like schools, stuff like crime, and the fact that the police are so under-resourced at the moment that you can sort of suffer a crime and it can be very hard to get an investigation. He got heckled, but he dealt with that really well, and he used that to draw a comparison between sort of his tenure and that of his predecessor. So when he had people sort of heckling him, he said, are you here to sort of chant slogans, or are you here to change lives? And there was a good section.
That was a pre-written line.
Well, actually, I don't know if it was, but that's the way even if it was, I don't think that matters really. I think it sort of did what it was supposed to do. So I thought it was really positive, and I'm not surprised that it's landed fairly well with the public. Obviously, people don't sit down and watch a 90-minute speech. The only people who do that are weird political geeks. I think they'll be pleased with the clips that have come out of this. And there was something on patriotism there as well. And I think, Starmer feels that one of the reasons that people didn't like Jeremy Corbyn, why Jeremy Corbyn didn't win the last election, was because voters felt that he just didn't really like Britain and the country and wasn't proud enough of the country. And, I'm always a bit sceptical when Labour leaders try and do this, because sometimes it can feel really forced and inauthentic. But actually, right. Starmer linked it to footballers taking the knee and how proud we should be in that, and how shameful it was for the government to criticise them for doing so. So I thought all in all it was a really good speech.
But Chris Curtis, I don't know if you heard or saw the report that we played just before we came to you both from Dudley, where a lot of voters, my colleague Alex Forsyth was speaking to, were just sceptical, or they were underwhelmed.
Look, what we can do with the polling exercise we've done today is we can see how the public react if they do see the highlights of this clip. Ultimately, Keir Starmer has an absolutely massive job to do in turning around that pretty big polling defeat in 2019. I don't think this speech is going to go anywhere close alone to giving Labour a chance of winning at the next election. I think he has to do two things, and if this speech has made a difference, it's probably made a positive one on both fronts. We're yet to see if it sort of makes a sustained difference over a long period of time. But two things he needs to do. Firstly, voters don't have very much of an opinion of him yet, but very, very few who have seen him say that they think that he's a strong leader. He needs to convince more people that he's a strong leader. But also what's happened in recent years, particularly over the Brexit debate, is there's an increasing view among the public that the Labour Party isn't in touch with the concerns of sort of normal voters out there, particularly as we'll often talk about in those red wall seats. So he does need to turn those numbers around. We did start to see some bits of that in the speech, which Sonia just talked about. Crime is another big issue. He's trying to reclaim crime as a Labour issue. At the moment, polling shows that Conservatives are a lot more trusted to tackle crime. So some things he's trying to do there to turn those numbers around. But I think it's a very, very long journey. This speech might have moved the dial. We'll have to see in the coming days, but it's definitely a first step in a very, very long journey to take them to a place where they can be an electable party again.
And of course, we don't know when a new election will be. Sonia Sodha, is Sir Keir Starmer the politician who scares the Conservatives the most?
I don't know about that. I mean, I actually agree with Chris.
If not, why is that person not the leader? Isn't that how a political party should pick its leader?
I mean, absolutely. But I mean, I agree with Chris that, Labour's got a long way to go, and the mountain it has to climb to win the next general election, the number of seats it has to win, are absolutely huge. I think there will have been stuff in that speech today which will make some Conservatives feel really quite nervous. I think the stuff around the cost of living crisis, I think, really highlighting with what's going on with fuel and the fact that people can't get petrol in their cars and are missing out on work. They can't drive their kids to school because of petrol. We've got a sort of universal credit cut coming, which means some parents are going to see £1,000 a year cut from their budgets. I think the Conservatives, there will be Conservatives who fear that stuff, and I think the speech did highlight that all. But I do think I agree with Chris. It has to be kept in context. I think this speech is a net positive, but a conference speech only generally leads to sort of quite an incremental shift in public perceptions. So there is a really long way to go.
Sonia Sodha and Chris Curtis, thank you to you both so much.